Pope, a banker, a comedian, two CEOs, a former Australian treasurer, and two AI billionaires who changed their minds about the AI jobs apocalypse right before their IPOs. This was the week in AI jobs news. If you're waiting for a sign that this moment is serious, the Pope just wrote 42,000 words. That's your sign. I'm Beck. This is Career Jam's weekly jobs and AI news, the Riff. Let's dive in. In global AI jobs news, tech layoffs in the US have now passed 115,000 through May, already approaching the full year total for 2025. AI has been cited as a driver in nearly 50,000 of those: Meta, Amazon, Cloudflare, Upwork. The list keeps growing. Intuit announced 3,100 layoffs, about 17% of its workforce, to fund AI initiatives with OpenAI and Anthropic. Wall Street analysts are skeptical of AI-driven layoffs, noting that over half of the companies announcing such cuts see their stock prices fall. Experts argue that augmenting workers with AI yields better returns than replacing them, suggesting that many corporate AI initiatives may be more about optics than true transformation. Detroit automakers are undergoing a massive transformation, cutting over 20,000 white-collar jobs as General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis pivot towards AI-driven operations. Simultaneously, Gen Z is pushing back against AI adoption, with protests and surveys showing nearly half of young people believe AI risks outweigh its benefits. Yale Budget Lab has found no significant changes in unemployment in high AI exposure occupations since ChatGPT launched. The disruption is real in pockets, but it hasn't shown up as a broad signal. Yet for all the doomsday predictions that AI will make management consultants obsolete, Boston Consulting Group CEO Christoph Schweizer said, "Look at the business." This week in the Wall Street Journal, he was crowing that AI revenue at BCG rose 7% to $14.4 billion in the firm's latest fiscal year, and its headcount is expanding as the firm rushes to meet a near infinite need from companies for help rolling out AI. Will the demand be as strong when implementations have been completed? To China. China is clamping down on overseas travel for AI talent. This decision signals Beijing's growing efforts to protect strategic technologies as competition with the US intensifies in advanced AI development. According to a Bloomberg report, government agencies have begun requiring certain individuals involved in cutting-edge AI research and development to seek approval before traveling abroad. The restrictions reportedly apply to professionals deemed strategically important to China's technological ambitions, including startup founders, researchers, and senior execs in private firms. China is projected to deploy up to 24 million humanoid robots by 2035 to offset labor shortages, potentially replacing 60% of its expected workforce gap. The move signals a national shift towards physical AI as automation becomes essential to sustaining manufacturing output. To the UK. They're not having a great time at the moment over there. Companies that adopted AI cut their workforces by 8% in the year to October 25, more than Germany, Japan, or Australia. Junior and admin roles are the specific flashpoint, and with youth unemployment forecast to hit 17% this year, the structural worry is becoming very real. If entry-level jobs disappear, who builds the experience base that produces your future senior workers? More importantly, what opportunity and hope are we giving our young people today? It's no surprise there's a kickback on AI acceleration. Here at home in Australia, we're mostly in the skills demand surge phase. LinkedIn has AI engineering as the number one role on the rise. AI literacy is the most in-demand skill employers are looking for. And the Hayes 26-27 salary guide, which dropped 2 days ago, said 60% of employees are already using AI regularly at work. Only 22% have had training. And here's the backdrop. Economic data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics says Aussies are not switching jobs, not starting businesses, not moving states. Check out this graph. In 1989, almost 1 in 5 people in the workforce changed jobs in a single year. By 2005, the job mobility rate had fallen to 11%, essentially 1 in 10 people. In the year to February 2025, 7.7% of workers changed jobs. Aussies are less mobile, less dynamic, and more risk-averse than they used to be. And this is before AI disruption really bites. People are already stuck, whether it's the cost of living, locking them out of their current income, golden handcuffs of employee benefits, risk aversion, or a jobs market that's just genuinely harder to navigate than it was. Australia doesn't have an environment to enable mobility or innovation, and that's little comfort as we move into an AI acceleration mode. The week's biggest voices in AI. Now let's get to the humans who made this week unmissable. It was a big news week for what people had to say. Voice 1, the Pope. Sunday, Pope Leo XIV published a 42,300-word encyclical called Magnificat Humanitas. That's Latin for magnificent humanity. And whether you are religious or not, I think you can take it as a spotlight. He has dedicated his first major manifesto to artificial intelligence to spotlight that AI is no longer just a technology conversation. It's becoming a human, social, and ethical one. The Pope explicitly positioned this as a new Rerum Novarium, 133 years on from the 1891 papal document that responded to the Industrial Revolution. It denounced the excesses of the Gilded Age and helped lay the foundations for workers' rights and social democracy across the Western world. His core argument is the pursuit of greater profits cannot justify choices that systematically sacrifice jobs, and a society that guarantees employment to only a small fraction of the population despite having a high level of technical development risks exposing many to forced inactivity. This creates a paradox of material progress and anthropological regression. He's not anti-AI, although he does call for AI to be disarmed. He called for it to be used responsibly for breakthroughs in medicine and science, but he's drawing a moral line that technology must serve people, not the other way around. The appearance of Anthropic co-founder Christopher Olah alongside Pope Leo was welcomed by some as a commitment to responsible AI, while others remain skeptical, questioning whether AI companies can genuinely align with the public good while competing in a race to build increasingly powerful and profitable systems. I think no one's missed the timing of their appearance in the lead up to their IPO. Voice 2, Bill Winters, and the phrase that broke the internet this week. Standard Chartered CEO Bill Winters announced this week that the bank would cut more than 50% of its support staff by 2030, around 7,800 people. The AI-driven efficiency push is real. All of that, in its own grim way, is a story that we've heard before. But then he said this: it's not cost-cutting, it's replacing, in some cases, lower value human capital. Wow. Lower value human capital. In one fell swoop, he blew his people up, as AI would have forecast if he had just popped his notes into AI to revise for clarity, highlighting any perceived red flags. He may have got some helpful feedback. He missed the signs, and the backlash was immediate and global. Former Singapore President Halimah Yacob called it disturbing and demeaning. LinkedIn blew up, and within 24 hours, Winters was on the platform apologising, but then he doubled down on the substance, confirming the 15% headcount reduction is proceeding while walking back the language. He's not wrong that the language was a slip. What he was trying to say, that AI is moving workers from lower value to higher value tasks, is coherent and a common corporate framing. But the slip matters because it revealed, as one analyst put it, Winters didn't invent lower value human capital. He just forgot to use the appropriate corporate translation, which you might hear as reskilling, right-sizing, redeployment, transition packages, words engineered to make the same reality land softer. Was Dario Amodi. Oh my gosh, the tech gods are really winding back the doom rhetoric that AI isn't going to take over the world and steal your job. If you haven't been paying attention, Dario Amodi, CEO of Anthropic, spent most of last year as Silicon Valley's most prominent doomsayer on AI and employment. He said AI could eliminate 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs. He warned of unemployment hitting 10 to 20%, and he told companies and governments that they were sugarcoating what was coming. This week, he is saying something quite different. He's now invoking the Jevons paradox, a 19th century economic principle that says when technology makes something more efficient and cheaper, demand for it actually explodes, creating more activity, not less. His new framing, if you automate 90% of the job, then everyone does the 10% of the job. And the 10% kind of expands to be 100% of what people do and kind of 10 times their productivity. Sam Altman at OpenAI made a similar reversal, telling Combank CEO Matt Comyn this week, "I thought there would be more impact on entry-level white-collar jobs being eliminated by now than has actually happened." Fortune traced this shift with a headline, "Sam Altman and Dario Amodei are walking back their AI jobs apocalypse prophecies just in time for billion-dollar IPOs." Both companies are expected to go public later this year. Anthropic just raised $65 billion, eclipsing OpenAI's value for the first time. I'm not saying the reversal is cynical. The Jevons paradox is a real and serious economic concept, but Jevons paradox is pre-AGI. The empirical data is more ambitious than apocalyptic predictions suggest. Demi Hassabis pushed back directly on the mass layoff narrative. He argued that when AI makes workers more efficient, the rationale move is to reinvest those gains, build more, create more, enter new markets. Using AI as a justification to cut headcount is, in his view, a failure of imagination and strategy. That puts him at odds with quite a few of his peers. In the bigger picture, Hassabis said humanity is standing at the foothills of singularity. He expects artificial general intelligence, AGI, around 2030. He describes the current wave of AI agents as a practice run for more powerful systems to come. He also said he chose provocative language deliberately to create urgency. Now we're coming back home because we've had 3 significant Australian voices this week, and they form a really interesting triad. Matt Comyn from the Commonwealth Bank, their CEO, in a piece for the AFR, delivered the medicine without a spoonful of sugar. He wrote, "Pretending every role can be preserved would not be fair either. An employer of our scale has a responsibility to avoid false reassurance and to give people the best possible chance to adapt." He drew a distinction between AI being used to build organizational strength and AI being deployed simply to cut costs. And then he named the qualities that will become more valuable. People who combine customer understanding, risk, judgment, curiosity, and the ability to direct AI systems will become more valuable, not less. Now on to Joe Hockey, a former treasurer. At the National Press Club address this week, Joe Hockey warned Australia could be facing 15% unemployment by 2030 to 2031, and that would be more than triple the current rate at 4.5%. He said, "We are sleepwalking into the future, so far behind what's happening in the US with technology and robots." He said job losses from AI would disproportionately affect younger generations. Now, 15% is a number at the extreme end of projections, and it echoes the kind of pre-IPO reversal, Amodei predictions we've been discussing. There was comedian Ronnie Chang. Ronnie is a Melbourne law graduate, Daily Show correspondent, and he was also in Crazy Rich Asians. And he stood up at Harvard's class day this week, and he told the graduation class of 2026 they could AI. The mission of your generation, he said, is to destroy AI. He was careful about what he meant. Use AI to pioneer breakthroughs in medicine and physics. Fine, you are not the problem. Use it to read your emails and write your essays. That's just dumb. He cited a 2025 MIT study, Your Brain, on ChatGPT, which found that an over-reliance on large language models leads to what researchers call cognitive debt. If you can't read and answer your own emails, how useless are you, he asks. And at graduation events across the US in the last month, speakers who praised AI were booed by the graduates. The people entering the workforce, the generation who live with these consequences the longest, they're pushing back. So moving on to the research. This week, the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report found that 59% of workers will need reskilling by 2030, and 7 of the 10 fastest growing skills are human. Creative and analytical thinking, resilience, flexibility, technological literacy, curiosity, and lifelong learning. A Harvard-led study found OpenAI's O1 preview model outperformed physicians in diagnosing real emergency room cases, achieving 67.1% accuracy compared to doctors' 50 to 55%. The model worked with raw patient records, marking a shift towards more realistic AI testing, though researchers caution it's not yet clinically ready. What the research tells us is that impacts are already being felt, but the macro AI jobs apocalypse hasn't yet arrived. But the pipeline problem is real, and the skills gap, 60% using AI, 22% trained, it's already here. We are in a labour market that was already frozen, where people aren't moving jobs, they aren't reskilling at the rate the moment demands, and where entry-level pipelines that used to build the next generation of experienced workers is breaking down. On top of that, we're dropping the most powerful general-purpose technology in history at a pace where even the people building it can't agree on what happens next, or are winding back what they know might be the impact. This is not something that will happen to someone else, somewhere else, or later. This is happening now. The change has begun. The question is whether you're informed and positioned, or you're going to be surprised. If this was useful, this was AI Jobs This Week by Career Jams the Riff. Share it with someone who's navigating AI career change or wanting to be more informed. Give us a drop in the comments about which of the voices this week resonated the most with you. I'm Beck from Career Jams the Riff, and I look forward to seeing you next week.